My God.
Mm. All right, people. How are we doing? Confirm that you can hear us. If you can hear us, please drop it in the chat if you can hear us. If you can hear us, drop it in the chat. Drop it in the chat window. It's good to have you around. If you're here, just drop it in the chat. Say hello. Say hello to us. Say hello. If you can hear us, drop it in the chat. Comment. Let's hear you. Let's hear you. Come on. Yep. I see you. We say nice one. I see you. We say. I see you. We say it's good to see you. I see you. We say. I see you. See my. I see one of my good boss on here already. Funsha Krele. It's good to see you. I see Funsha Krele on here. It's good to see you. I see Elijah. Ayobami. It's good to see you. So many people coming
There's
in. So
something
great
is
to
not
see you all.
working.
So great.
Look at my
So
own
great to
laptop
see you
there.
all. So great to see you all. So great to see you all. All right. It's good to have everybody around. Thank you for joining. Great stuff. Great stuff. It's going to be a very interesting one. It's going to be a very interesting one. It's good to see everybody. It's good to see everybody joining us today. Fantastic. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for joining. All right. So we won't take much of our time. We'll just, we'll be delving into, right? We'll be delving into the, say, I'm excited for this personally. So excited for what we'll be learning today, what we'll be going through today, especially over the weekend. All right. It's going to be a very interesting stuff that we'll be going through all over this weekend. And I really want everybody to like I said in the mail, get your laptops, get everything set and ready to go because it's going to be a very interesting one. It's going to be more uh practically driven. All right, we'll be looking at quite a few things in this few days we're having together. One of the things that is very important, one of the things that is very key is that when we come for training sessions like this, right, the major element of sessions like this is that there would be scenarios or there will be situations where you then understand that when you learn things like this, you pick them up and then you run by them, you push forward from those things you learn. All right. And that's one of the things I want everybody to put together as we go through this, uh training. All right, this training. Okay, so this training you'll be having myself, I'm sure you already can see on this on the screen already. I already have my brother on call here. uh we'll both be together all through these 3 days, today, tomorrow, and then the last day, which is Sunday. All right, and it will be a very interesting time together. All right, this is Ekene. Is a senior DevOps specialist. All right, is a senior DevOps specialist. I have, it's somebody we work together on a daily basis. We work together quite on a lot of things, ranging from uh, Azure, AWS DevOps to enterprise systems. Microsoft enterprise systems, SAP systems, and all of that. So it's somebody that we've done a lot of things together, and we're still doing a lot of things together. And I know he has, a very strong, vast experience when it comes to uh, developers operations and developers technology. And personally, I'm excited because because I'll be learning a few things also myself this weekend, which is good. All right. So as you can see on the screen, Ekene is very experienced when it comes to Microsoft Azure, AWS, is a software architect. All right, is also an integrations expert, and some of his highlights, I know he loves to code. I know he's a driver when it comes to software integrations and all of that. And you can connect with him on LinkedIn. All right, you can connect with him on LinkedIn, catch up. One of the things about the technology space is networking and connect, right? So even after learning a few things, connecting, networking is also a very key element in that space. All right. And for me also, I'm your humble friend. All right. And as your humble friend, I'm a principal consultant with Stringify. My experience span over the spaces of Microsoft Power Platform, Dynamics, software engineering, and DevOps also. And you can connect with me also on LinkedIn, and then let's talk further. All right. So I won't take our time at all. I'm just going to bring Ekene on board, so we can delve right into this, hit the nail on the head, and then, like we said in the mail, it's a 2-hour session. So today, tomorrow, Sunday, and then on Sunday. All right, 2-hour session each day. And I really want everybody, put your mind put attention to this. All right. If you have questions while these sessions are going on, drop them on the comment section on the chat. I'll be there live to look at them. We'll definitely pick some of them up and answer them as the training goes on. First and foremost, let me bring Ekene on board. Ekene, say hello to the people. Come on. Can unmute your mic and say hello to the people. Come on. All right. Can you hear us, Ekene? Let's hear you. Okay. I don't think he's able to hear us. Okay. If you can hear us, please let us know. I see people saying Ekene. All right. Okay, let's just take a moment. He'll be back in. He'll be back in. All right. So while we're waiting for him to come back in, just drop in the comment section your DevOps experience. Why do you want to learn DevOps? Let me read some of them out. What's your DevOps experience, or any other DevOps? And then why do you want to learn DevOps? Why do you want to at least, are you could be advanced, you could be a very experienced person in DevOps. Maybe there's a few things you want to pick up and all of that. Just drop it in the chat comment below. Let's see. Yeah. Let's just see. I'll just read a few of them out. Let's see why do you want to learn DevOps? What is DevOps to you? And all of that. You can just drop it in the comment section below. All right. Okay. Afolabi says he's a newbie to DevOps. Tosin says a newbie to DevOps. So tell me. So if you're a newbie to DevOps, so why do you want to learn it? Okay. Some Love, Peace, and Prosperity says the journey has been interesting, but the tools are many. All right. Journey has been interesting. So that means you're already learning, right? However, the tools are quite a lot. Okay. I see that. Who else? Okay, somebody said I have no experience. Okay, who else? All right, so while we're waiting for Ekene, let me just give us a background. Let me give us a general background. Just going to do a minute. Give me a minute. Let me take you down to. I'm sure you all are still on my screen. You should be. Okay, somebody says a big. So just a minute. I'm just going to show you. Let me take you all to my screen and show you something, so we can at least give a context to what we'll be learning. All right. Okay, let's share this entire screen. All right, good. So while we're waiting for Ekene, I'm sure you all can see my screen, right? So why DevOps and what is DevOps, right? Because one of the things why I'm sure most of you probably have asked yourself that question as to what exactly is DevOps and why DevOps. Now, on the general term, right? DevOps is a method. It's some sort of methodology, right? That is being used when it comes to the software industry, software development, IT industry, and all of that. And one of the things that uh, DevOps really brings to context for us when you hear people say, I'm a DevOps engineer, I am a DevOps expert, and all of those different elements that people use in this scenario, right? Is you would agree with me that when you build any solutions, when you develop any solution today, from the standard mode, let's break it down. From the standard mode, you would have your application sitting somewhere, right? I'm using a layman term. In a technical term, we will say your application is being hosted somewhere, right? That's one. Number two is I'm sure you will have heard developers saying things like, "Oh, I have my um, I have my application project file or source code, on my computer, and different, uh, and different kind of things that people talk about, right? Now, but the thing is, in this whole life cycle of software and application development, one of the things that is very key is that there must be some sort of management, right? There must be some sort of operational management that has to be done. What do we mean by that? Number one, you build your application in an instance, right? And then when you are done building your application before it goes live to what everybody in the public is able to have access to, engage with, right? It must pass through a process. That means a process of testing, a process of accrediting that the application is good to go, everything is good, and then you can push the application to production or live, like we call it, right? So that process of development and operational activity, right? It means that something must sit in between that connect those two bridges together from where you developed the application, writing your functions, then to where you process that application in a way where external users or users now can engage with that application. When you come to that uh, part, we can now start talking about what we call DevOps. That's developers operation. You see that, which means combination of what software development or integrations or any development, and then the operational side of things. And that's where we bring in DevOps in play here, right? So it means that if you want to build a career in DevOps, right? Because there are questions like that. Do I need to be a software engineer, be able to write code before I am able to, delve into the DevOps as it were, right? Or vice versa, as it were. So you would see that yes, you need to have an understanding, but not be a core engineer. You might not be a core engineer, but at least you need to have good understanding because most of the things you would be engaged with in that operational process will deal with what the application that has been built, right? Because when it comes to reviewing processes, somebody raised a PR, which is somebody says, you know what, this is my code. Please help me check it out. You need to be able to read that code, understand that what this person has done meets the requirement before you now decide to say, okay, let's merge or let's send this application to maybe a testing instance, which is what most of us might understand as what we call staging, right? Or before you now say, let's push this application to production, right? So it means that you must have an understanding, at least a readable understanding of how processes are done. Now, why I'm saying that is because you might be dealing with different stacks. You might be working with developers who are writing codes with C#. You might be working with developers who are writing codes with React, Node, different libraries, right? And then it means that at least you must have an understanding of programming methodology, right? Variable declarations, loops, all of those elements of programming. You must have that understanding so that you are able to properly engage with applications when they are built and when they are developed. I hope that makes sense. So that's like the basic entry push into the whole DevOps environment, the whole DevOps journey, as it were. All right. I'm just giving us a background context, all right, so that when Ekene comes and it breaks it down into pieces for us, taking us step by step on how the journey should be, we begin to come to full understanding of exactly what we're looking at in this scenario. Let me confirm that he's back. I can see him on stage. Ekene, please, are you back on board? Okay, I think he's not back yet. All right. Now, if you look at my screen, everybody, for example, like for the course of this training, we are limiting our ideology to the Azure DevOps, right? There's AWS, there's different DevOps instances, even with tier 2 level cloud infrastructure systems, right? However, we're dealing with Azure DevOps, so which means you must understand quite a few things. You must understand the concept of uh working with repositories, concept of uh code resolutions, being able to read functions and all of those elements, right? These are things that we put together to then form the entire DevOps concept in this whole scenario. So first level, like I've explained to us, is the level of what being able to have a readable understanding of stacks of programs, right? Because what that will do for you is at least give you the first understanding of where you're going to. Number two is for your DevOps instance. Now, people don't take this serious, and I've seen a lot of DevOps engineers that I've worked with don't really take that side serious, but it's a very key element. Is the infrastructure side of your DevOps, right? Because every DevOps instance, application wise, is sitting on a specific infrastructure, right? They sit on a specific infrastructure. For example, the Azure DevOps will sit on the Microsoft Azure infrastructure. AWS will sit on what? Amazon infrastructure. And so you have different infrastructure that is holding up most of our DevOps instances, right? That's number one. And on the flip side of that infrastructure conversation is that your application itself that you are managing with your DevOps platform, right, also is hosted somewhere. Don't forget. So even if your DevOps practice is being done on an Azure instance, right, the application you are working with might be hosted on Azure or could be hosted on a different third party, on a third party, cloud infrastructure in this scenario, which means then your entry level understanding is I hope this is breaking it down into basic elements first for us so that we get the gist, right? So it means that okay, good. So it means that what if I understand that side of, oh, there's a application infrastructure, then there's a DevOps infrastructure, then there's a DevOps connection to my application. Let me take it again. There's an application infrastructure. I'm building a React application. My React application is probably hosted on DO, right? Say DigitalOcean. And I'm doing my DevOps with maybe Azure. Yeah, in this scenario. So it means that what there's going to be some sort of environment connection between my what DevOps instance and my application hosted instance. Do you see that? So that's the second level of what you are looking at in this scenario, right? In terms of how that connection done. So don't I hope you're following me, everybody. You understand the first thing I said is understand first the DevOps life cycle, or we'll call it the application life cycle of first, whatever application is coming in, you must have a readable understanding first. So you don't need to be a programmer, but at least you must have a readable understanding first of how to at least understand codes when you see them. So that as a DevOps engineer, you are able to read people's functions when they raise some sort of pull request for you. So don't worry, I'm sure pull requests, all of those things I'm saying, we'll break it down for you in these 3 days so you understand what is pull request, what is merge, and all of those things, branch, and all of those things. All right. In this case. So the two more things, and then hopefully Ekene will be back by then. Let me confirm again if he's around. Uh, 1 minute, everybody. Okay, so that's the first two things. Now the third thing is this: in learning DevOps, everybody is somebody said something on the chat. It said there are many tools or thereabouts, right? In terms of DevOps, and that might be confusing in terms of learning the DevOps and as it were. Now, this is one thing you must understand, everybody. Now there are many platforms, DevOps platforms really out there. Now the issue that happens most times is that a lot of people in learning you try to kick off learning from let me say from the platform side rather than learn from the solution side. Let's bring it back. Now, for example, one of the things we'll be doing today most times will be opening you up to the world of DevOps before we even push you into Azure. Why? Because first you need to understand the solution itself. So, what is DevOps itself? What does DevOps mean? What do we do within the DevOps operation? You see, by the time you have that full understanding, then when we now go to talking about DevOps, because from understanding that you understand DevOps tools. So when you hear people talking about Nagios, Octopus, Jenkins, Kubernetes, you get Azure DevOps Services, Oracle Cloud, JFrog, CodeFresh, GitHub, Docker Ops. See, when you start hearing all of those elements, right? So it doesn't sound to your ear like, okay, what am I doing here? Do you get the point? It means that the very first level of things will be to come to first understanding the DevOps element, the DevOps system. Once you get a grasp on that DevOps system, as it were, what you are expected to do. Different platforms with different approach. Now, I have experience with Azure and AWS major. Now, the thing is, AWS approach to DevOps practices in terms of tooling, yes, is a bit different from Azure. But in terms of operations, their operations are still the same. You see that? So it means that what you must first understand the solution side of things before you start talking about the tools. So at least when it's just like we do within programming. Before you can start writing any programs, you need to first go through the level of pseudos, understand your pseudo codes, understand your logic building, right? When you have that understanding of pseudo code, logic building, algorithm models, when you now pass that stage, you can now start talking about which stack do I want to now focus on to learn. It's the same thing with DevOps practices. You must first understand the DevOps model, the DevOps, topology first. Then you now move into what the DevOps specific tools that you now want to sit on. Now, the thing is, once you master a tool to a point, it gets easier to now move down other tools, right? In the bucket, you can move down to other tools, or even a different OEM entirely, right, in the same bucket. And that is the model of how DevOps work on the long run, right, in this scenario. So I hope you're getting me. If you're getting me, drop it in the comment. Let me just see your chart. Let me see your chart. Okay, good, 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 good. All right, fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. All right, somebody says 5-5. Thomas Ashu says 5-5. All right, Ekene, please unmute your mic. Let's bring Ekene in. All right, just a minute. Let's bring him in. Okay. All right, just a minute, everybody. We're having some technical difficulties. Let's get the Kine up and running. Let's get the Kine up and running. Just a moment. Let's get him up and running.
Okay, I'm in. I'm in. Yes.
All right. Welcome, 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 Kine. It's good to have you here. All right. I see we have so many questions on board. All right, but so we'll attend to all those questions already. All right, we'll attend to all those questions. Quite a lot of questions already, but we'll attend to them. All right. So everybody, this is welcome Ekene on board, who will be taking us through the DevOps system today. Kenny, please, you can drop your slide so you can go ahead. All right. Sit back, everybody, relax, and then enjoy this session. All right. All right, Kenny, you have the floor, please. All right, we see your screen. Please unmute yourself. You are muted. You are muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So, I'll share the slides later after this. Let's just be fast because we'll spend a lot of time. So we are taking Azure DevOps. So today, in our s- in our curriculum for these 3 days, for day one, we have Azure DevOps overview. We have continuous integration and deployment, where we'll learn various Git codes and Git syntaxes and everything about Git on how to manage our repo. Then we'll now do infrastructure as a code, where we use Terraform to deploy our infrastructure to Azure services. Then we'll learn Azure Resource Manager template and Azure Virtual Machine. So that's what we have for today. We have Azure Virtual Machine, we have Azure Resource Manager template, we have infrastructure as a code, we have continuous integration and deployment, and we have Azure DevOps overview. So let's get started with Azure DevOps overview. Please just bear with us. The slide, try to upload it, but it seems the system has some issues not accepting the slides. So, but I'll just share my screen right away. So this is when you come into dev.azure.com, this is where it lands you. From there, you create your project. First, at the beginning, you create an organization. Then when you create an organization, it will ask you to create a project. So I've created a project. You click on create a project. I'll just be straightforward. And so when you click on create a project, you put your project name and you state your project, whether it's private or public. But most times, Azure always for free accounts, you're always allowed to create private. To create public, you have to give some reasons why your repo has to be public. And is your repo are you is it an open source tool and an open source project you are running? That's where you can make it public. But most times it's private. So you select private and you create. So this is our project which we have created. So I click on the project and I'm in the Azure DevOps environment. Just a minute to take a minute or two. So this is the Azure DevOps environment. So hope we can also have Azure DevOps environment. So I'll explain to you what all these tools by my left-hand side, these menu items by my left-hand side, what they mean, and you take notes while I explain. But at the end of the day, at the end of the lectures, we also send lecture notes. So now let's start with bots. As Ayo has rightly explained, Azure DevOps is all about bringing development and operation together. Whatever you do in develop or before now, you have different silos where you have developers will work on their projects and operations are on a different room. So, but in DevOps, we are trying to bring all these people together, the operators and the developers. Everybody has to be in the same room. So we are not having a separate team that these people who are the operators? Operators are those who do monitoring. Those are those commission servers. Operators are those who manage servers. Those are operators. Who are developers? Developers are those who write codes. Those who build servers. So there is a line now. There's a thin line between both of these. Why the operators take it from release to board? Because every project has to be planned. So when you go to your set up your environment, will come in a subsequent, because after this it will not end there. DevOps is very broad and it, it requires continuous learning and continuous reading. So it's a very broad field. Is broad. You have to know DevOps on how I don't like that. If you go on with this so what how can work what
Ekene, I think
things do
we cannot hear you at all. Ekene,
every
I think it's breaking. It's breaking, and then you are still stuck on the
thing
same
that
screen.
project uh,
Right. So I think we cannot hear him. It's breaking a lot for everybody. So Ekene, I think you have to help us adjust your connections. We are unable to hear you. You're still stuck on the same screen, so we cannot see. You're stuck on the same board, so we cannot hear you at all. So I think you need to help us adjust your connection. All right. So Okay. Are you on a different connection now?
Yes, I had to switch to fiber optics now.
All right, all right.
So can
So
you see my screen now?
we can hear you clearly now.
Okay.
It's way, way better. But the
Can
thing,
you can
yeah,
see
yeah.
my
Can you?
screen?
Let's see now. Which of the screen are you sharing so we know? Okay, good. We can see your screen now.
I'm
Everybody, are we
sharing
good?
this.
We pray for Ekene's connection. Okay, I see
Okay.
that. All right, I think you're good now. I think we can hear you now. All right, let's go on. Thank you, everybody,
This
for the
our
patience.
work
Let's
item
ride on.
now.
Yeah.
As I said, work item is where everything you want to do for that project, the bugs, the features, the backlog items, everything for your project. This is where you put them. So if you go to QuickBooks, so as I said, I will not go into configuration of your project. In DevOps, there's a way you configure your project, either as a Scrum, CMNI, or an Agile. So this one I'm using a Scrum project, which is the familiar one which all of us know. And in Scrum, we have these work items, we have epic, issue, or task. So you can also add bulk. If you want to add, you can add bulk also to this. So now, what is an epic? If you want to create an epic, what is an epic? Most it all these things. It is not it's not an organogram. It's not a category. It's not like step by step. An epic is not a major set of a feature or a task. An epic. What does epic mean? Epic means that activity which is broad. Let me say you are planning to move from version 1.1 to version 1.2 for an increment of your application, or if you want to do, for example, user registration management model. Registration management model, that's an epic, because in that one you have different modules inside. You have the login form, you have the registration form, you have the authentication, you have the log for when users log in. So there are several things in that particular one. So that's an epic. So when you have that epic, now you assign that epic to a different development team based on their size and their tact. So now, why do we have all these three? As a development engineer, this is how I use them. My epic, I say, okay, for my planned releases, epics are released every 6 months. Every 6 months we release an epic. Then when we go to features, features are released every 3 months. Then bugs are released whenever they are fixed. So that's how I categorize them. I always put my epic. For every epic, I say, okay, every 6 months I release an epic. So I have my team. I have different teams. So if I have an epic, I have a particular task. Okay, for these
So,
6 months.
Ekene, can I stop you for a minute? So let me
Okay,
stop you for a minute, because we are trying to make sure that everybody follow, because we have quite a few people who are just beginners, who this is
okay,
their very first entry into DevOps and they have no idea at all. So I think why you had the internet glitch, so we could not hear. So a lot of people are saying, can you go back to that overview and the boards so that they can follow you step by step? So because during the internet issues, they could not follow.
okay, okay. So this is let me go to the overview. So I said when you come to Azure DevOps, the dev.azure.com, first thing you do, you'll be asked to create an organization. After creating an organization, you will now create a project. So let me go back to my Azure DevOps. This is where I land. I have my project here. You now have, so you can use to manage multiple projects. So a project is an application. You get me? A project an application. Like you have one application, your e-commerce application, you have another application, your API. You can either manage the APIs and the front end on two different projects, or you have one application. In that one application, you have both the API and the front end and the database in that particular project. Then in another project, now you have another application. So it's left to you. But what I normally do when I come to DevOps, I separate the two. I have my API and my front end, two different applications. Then the third one, database application, so that I keep things very streamlined. I keep things organized. You have my database application. I have like this one now, Stringify a CRM integration. So I can now decide to create another one, CRM integration APIs. I come to CRM integration APIs. That's the API. Then I put a description or API for CRM integration. So I now click on, as I said before, if you're using the free accounts, you always be default to private. But if you want to use public, then you are going to send some notification that this your project is it's an open source project. And why do you want to make it open source? Microsoft will vet it, you write some mails, you explain why it is supposed to be public and what's the benefit of the open source project you are creating. But for now, everything is just private. So we use a private, then we create. So I've created my project and it took me directly. If I go back here, I now have two projects. This is the API project and this is the integration project. So which one do I want to manage now as a DevOps engineer? I have several projects and I have several teams. So I can come here now, I create a board. So when you start your project, the first thing this project now, you create teams. When you go to project settings, you don't just start your project, you go to project settings. Under project settings, you have teams, permissions, notifications, several tools, and the rest. So let me create a team for this project. Where am I assigning this project to? So by default, it has created a team for me. This is a default team. I can now click on new team. I now put backend CRM. I now create a team backend. Backend Lekki is based in Lekki. That's where they work from. That's the work office. Backend Lekki. And I now add members to the team. So for now, I've not linked this. This now has to be linked to your Azure Active Directory. So if it's linked, I can now add. But it's not linked to my Azure Active Directory. That's why I cannot add members directly. So I can add two. I have only the administrator. So this way you add members to your team. They all know that once this Azure DevOps is linked to your Active Directory, you can add people from your Active Directory into your Azure DevOps. So that's one good thing about Azure DevOps. But if I don't want to link it, I can still go to organization settings. If I go to my organization center, I can now add users. If I go to my organization settings, I add users now to my. So I hope we're all following. I'm trying to add users to it. So let me see here. There you go to add users, basic user. So I've added that user. I add to project. This is the API. I added the API project. Can add another user. To project. So you see it's failed. One thing about I just did that intentionally, so you see that it's failed. One thing about Azure DevOps is you must link it to Azure Active Directory. So I hope you all know that. So that's one interview question that I'm trying to add a user who's not in Azure Active Directory. So how do I do that? So you must have you must attach it to Azure Active Directory if you want to add user, except you are the only person in Azure, then only you can do it. But if you are not on Azure Active Directory, you cannot add users. Anybody that wants to use Azure DevOps must be in Azure Active Directory. That's Microsoft proprietary. That's what they have done. So I did that purposely. So you will now see that and notice that, because most times such questions are asked during interviews. I'm trying to add a user, but I cannot add it. I'm seeing failed. That's troubleshooting. So first of all, you ask the person, is your Azure DevOps attached to your Active Directory? If it's then, that's the correct answer. If it's not attached, they can't add any user who is not in your Active Directory. So I hope we all get that. So I have that user there. So let me go back to my project. So there are a couple of things we can do under settings, but I won't go into that now because of time. So let me go back to my project. So this is my project. I'll show you how to create team and how to add people to a team. So this is my project now. Here we have the bots. On that board now, where I stopped was work items. We're talking about work items. So what was work item? Work item is a collection of everything you want to do under that project. That's called work item. Everything you have to do under that project. You have epic, so and it can be described as epic issues and tasks. But you can also add under settings. You can add different class of work. You can add features, you can add modules, as the case may be, whatever you want. So what's an epic? An epic is a very big work item. A module change you are trying to add. It's not it's not a change. Epic is not a change in the application. It's if it's a change, there's an issue or a feature, but epic is a new thing. Like you have an e-commerce application and you want to add AI features to it. You want to add AI features to it where people can where you can make orders for people based on their lifestyle. You just search it people's lifestyle and make orders for them and make that proposal for them. Please, we have these items in stock. Will you want to order them? And this is the price, stuff like that. You're adding a new feature to your e-commerce application. So that's an epic. Then what's an issue? An issue, you can create an issue when there was an issue can be either a bug from customer end or an enhancement to your application. So that will be under an issue. You have your you want to enhance, you want to add let me say you want to add payment through another payment gateway. You have one payment gateway, I want to add another payment gateway. So that's an enhancement. So that can be an issue. Or payment gateway is not loading and you have not and the monitoring team after that, okay, payment gateway is not loading and you want to solve that bug. That is an issue. Then what's a task? Task now, every items every item you want to do at a particular time. But this now task now is attached under an issue or an epic. You get it now. When you want to do a task, you put a task either under an issue or an epic, or you can put a task alone. There are some tasks which are unparented, but all tasks have to be put under an issue or an epic. So if I say let me create an epic, and one thing you should also know that you don't add to add items to your backlog, you don't add epic or issues to backlog. You add only task to backlog. So now if I create an epic, let me say this is my epic now. I still want to add AI recommendation. Add AI recommendation. So it's very big. Now I put my description. Users will get notifications. Users will get notification. Let me just leave it at that. Let me that's a I put my description. Then these are discussions now. What has been going on as you keep every daily update, what you do on your stand-up meetings, you put those things here. What did you do today? What are you doing to what did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? What do you want to do today and what are your challenges? You put them here. So you use hash to link to another work item. If I want to link to another work item and I press hash, it will link me to another, it will ask me to link to another work item. You get, so I can say another work item. But if I want to comment, I want to add, call somebody else, I use at. So hash is linked to another work item, or add is to link to another, to mention somebody in my discussion. That's, so please know that hash is to, in discussion, is to link to another work item, while add is to call on somebody attention in that discussion. So after I've created the thing, the next step now is to add my tags to it. So I save. So if I go back to my work item, this is my epic. You cannot assign it. It's not yet assigned. So I will not assign it to. So this is now unassigned, and assign it to this person. So it has been assigned. I save it. So if I want to add related work item, now this one I cannot add tags now to it. Existing item or new item. So I add tags to it. So if I want to create the AI bug, the AI feature for my, I'm adding a tags, a child tags. What's the title? The first one is display lists of recommendation. So as a user, I want to see. So this like your user stories, display list of recommendations. So I've added a tax to it. So I hope you are all following. Please, Ayo, please, you can ask. If there's any question on the chat window, you can interject. Ayo,
No problem, no problem. We're following
hello.
you.
Okay, okay. So if there's any question on the chat window, you can just interject me. So I it's added to backlog. See, it's added to backlog because it's a task. As I said, only task can be added to backlog, but project, epic, and issues can be added to backlog. Please note that I'm giving you key points, key interview questions. Uh, Someone will ask you, can you add epic to backlog? No, you cannot add epics to backlog. You can add only tasks. And you see, it has only been added to a backlog. So I save it. I can also put my description, and I put my discussions to it. So I save and close. So it's the same thing with issue. So this is my work items. So as I said, work items, everything you need to do. I'm seeing my epic add AI recommendation. I'm also seeing my tags as a user. I want to see this place of recommendation. So everything with this place will be so broad. It's just so big, and you see everything you need to do. So that's work items. So now the next place now I want to go now is backlog items. So if I go to my backlog, so it's the backlog now. So what is a backlog? Backlog is every task, the user story. Let me use that word, user story. User story is user comment document. Like user story is like, as a user, I want to log in. As a user, I want to save registration form. As a user, when I click on when I click on registration form and it is successful, I want to go to the home page. So that's the user story. All the requirement document, everything the user wants to do, everything has to be done, whether it's by the user or not by the user. So everything has been done in the application, every task that you need to perform. So you break it down in small chunks. In our subsequent lectures, we'll tell you how to break your task, how to measure it, how to write your burn down chart. But this is just a 3 day to give you heads up. But we'll have subsequent lectures, so we'll pick each topic one by one and explain it better to you. But for now, just have a heads up that you have you have your backlog where all the user stories which you want to do. And this is where the Scrum Master, the product manager comes in. He categorizes the items. So in the backlog, so if I add a new work item in my backlog, so you see now I create an issue which is this. I said hold on. Oh, I still a new work item. Can go to the bottom, so you can say at the selection or at the bottom. So I say as a user, I want to log in. I add it. So now say as a user, I want to register. I add. So these are my items now. I can still come from my work item. I can still go. So this item added my backlog. So I can go to my work item and add task to that to my backlog. So it's everything I've added here has come to my work item. So as a user, I want to log in. So please let's edit this. Please don't. To edit. Hmm. So any questions so far? We have created a work item. These are our work items. We created a backlog. Created
All
our
right.
backlog.
So I think before we move forward,
So any questions so
let me
far?
just yeah, before we move forward, let me just read out a few. So
Okay.
for the I think somebody was asking that if you could do the assignment, the work item assignment once more. I think they missed that. Can you just show them how you did that item assignment once again?
Okay, to assign work item. So okay, let me go to. I can go. I go to my work item. This one is unassigned. I click on it. This is assigned unassigned, so I can now assign to. Remember, I must have added all these people in my organization before I can see them here. So
Okay, so they must be part of the so you're able to see those people, right? Because they are part of the Azure Active
yeah,
Directory organization.
yes, yes. So you must be in the
What if
Azure Active Directory.
okay, so now what if you wanted to work with maybe a developer that is not or a DevOps engineer that is not in your organization? How can we get the person on board?
You add them. You add them to your Azure Active Directory with a federated account. They must be in the Azure because before you open Azure, you must add them as users in your Azure Active Directory.
Okay, so more like bring them in like a guest user first.
Yes, they have to be guest users because they cannot log. They cannot
Oh,
even log into Azure DevOps without having an either an on Microsoft account. They need to have like dot on Microsoft.com account. You must have that
oh,
before you can log in.
all right, good.
Yeah.
So I think that's the only question relevant to what you're doing right now. The other ones we'll ask after the end of the journey today.
Okay, so that's for backlog. So now let me go now. You want to start your sprint. This is your sprint. You go to what they call sprint. In sprint run, you decide how many weeks you want to run your sprint. It can be a 2 week sprint, it can be a 1 week sprint, it can be a 1 month sprint. but it is always 1 month sprint. That's 4 week sprint. That's the highest. You can have a 2 week sprint also. So this is my sprint. I can have for my backlog. When I go to my this is sprint one by default. So if I click on sprint, if I go here, this is sprint one. But let me create a new sprint. Sprint one or sprint zero is when you created your backlog. That's the first thing, created your backlog. It's supposed to be sprint zero because nothing is done. But you can still call it sprint one. Microsoft default call it sprint one. So you can go to sprint two. So I can create sprint two and I give it my name. So for club, so sprint two, then I give it a start date, which is today. We're setting our sprint today. Then an end date, which is 1 week time. We are running a 2 week sprint, so it will end here. So location, this is a project which you're working. You can select a different project, then you create. So I've created my sprint now. So I can now. So how do I add items to my sprint? I go to my backlog. Either I go to backlog or I go to work item. I can go to work item and select an item which is not on my backlog and add to a sprint. Let me say I want to work on this as a user. I want to see this is a task there. And I'll say create a copy, email. Wait, just hold on, please. I got. I'm using Agile, so with the the template uses Agile, not Scrum. I'd upload further, gone back and change it. Please just a minute. Let me change this process to Scrum. I think what they're using is Agile. So let's change the process.
So I'm glad you are going through this, right? So I have a question. I'm sure most people will have it. So at this point, that you are coming to change the process, to sprint, and you said it was formerly on Scrum. You are coming back to change it to
Yeah.
sprint. Why? What does it mean?
No, no, to Scrum. It
How
was on
do we?
Agile.
Okay, it was
It
on
was it's
Agile. You're trying to
Agile. I
change
want
it
to change
back
it
to
to
Scrum.
Scrum.
So what does it mean so
Yes,
that people
yes.
can understand? What does it mean? Agile, Scrum. Which scenario should a DevOps engineer be working with where they would know whether they have to go Scrum or Agile, and how would they know? How did you know it was on Scrum? I was on Agile, and then you change it to
The
Scrum. How did you know? And then what will be the
okay. Let
what
me
kind of
just.
DevOps operations
Oh,
is going on that makes you go through that process?
okay.
So yeah, so that we can
Okay.
understand. We are
Because please
newbies,
let
so
me just.
we need to know.
Okay. Yeah. So this is process. Now your organization may decide there are various ways. DevOps has some two main ways to manage project. You have the basic, which is you have Agile, you have Scrum, you have CMNI. So agile methodologies, if you look at, you just have you just have epic features, epic issues and tasks, because agile is for general projects. It's a general term for general project. It's normally for software development project. If you see there was no bug, there's no bug fixes. It's just like, because DevOps is not only being used by software development. You must not only be those. You can use it to manage any project you have. You can use it for database. You can use it for you can use DevOps to manage any project. You get, it's not tied only software development. But when you go to Scrum, Scrum now is tied to managing software development project. And why we choose this process or the template which Azure DevOps will give to us will be different. If I choose Scrum, you said the template will be different when I'm build when I'm creating my work items. When I create Agile, the template will be different. So by default, what most I'll advise most, if you're into software development, as an Azure DevOps engineer, always come to under organization processes, then change it, then select Scrum. I hope you understand there. So as Scrum has, look at now, Scrum has more titles than the Agile. You have bulk, you have epic, you have feature, you have impediment, you have product backlog item, you have task, you have test case, you have test plan, and you have test suite. So this is the Scrum template. So what that those difference is just a template so that you can use it to build to run your project. I don't know if that is clear enough.
Yes, yes, I believe so. It is, I believe so. Fantastic. So yeah, what you're doing
Okay.
now, this is a fantastic interface for project managers. Right? Not only software
Yes.
engineers or for project managers to really use this to manage projects. Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much. Let's go.
Okay. So so sorry about that. So you have your backlog levels. So sorry, we'll have to, if you have done your project like that, to start again, then we are good. So if we go to project, it's private. Go to project settings now, yeah. Mm, Go, go. Think of it. Let me just create a new project because this thing will take some time to start changing it. So these are the templates. So you can add your templates here. But let me just go back here, create a new project so that we just pick a right template from it. Because it take us some time now to start changing it and some things to start working. Let's just say CRM, Scrum. We go to advanced settings, work process, Scrum, version control, Git, CRM, Scrum. Yeah, quit. So I don't want to start doing. If we start changing within the project, it will start breaking in many places, and the flow will not be the same. So that's why I just had to let's just create a project and use escalated. So the default is basic. So this is item now. Let's go back. We'll just be fast to go back to where we were. So now if I want to create a work item, say I have more titles, more categories here. So I have a bulk. So let's start, I can create a bulk, I can say okay. Um, I give it title. I say login, login with Google, login with Google O authentication not working. So that's the bulk. And I give a repo steps. So what are the steps to do? So you give a steps to take. You now say check error log. Then what's the system information? Yeah, I give it shows error. Then I assign it to this person and I save. So I go back to work item. I can create an epic. We have seen how to create an epic. So let me create a feature.
Ekene, I think your screen is frozen. Or we can hear you
Huh?
loud and clear. We can hear you
Can
clearly.
you hear
Your
me?
screen is frozen. Yes, we can hear you clearly,
My
but I
screen
think
is
your screen
frozen.
is frozen. Yes.
Uh-uh. So wow. So what are you saying now? Are you
You're still on the
saying
project. You're still on the project configuration on the
uh-uh.
under project settings. Yeah.
Wow. So I need to stop and share again.
Yes. Kindly reshare your screen.
Okay. Okay. So what are you saying now? Confirm what you are saying.
All right. Now you're back on work items.
Hello?
The field title cannot be empty. Yeah,
Okay. So
you're
this
back
is
on work
feature.
item. We can see field cannot be empty. Yep.
Okay. So I'm creating a feature now, which is so this feature now is saying
How
add.
did you get here? Let's track. How did you get here?
Okay. So
How did you get here? Let's get that. Yeah.
okay. So that's under work item. New work. I've created a
Okay.
bug. Login with Google is not working. This is a bug. So I can create a work item. And you can create a feature. So I click on create a feature. So I put a feature here. So what's this feature? Which is open AI integration. Now let me put Copilot integration since we are Microsoft. Copilot integration for item review, item selection, item selection. Then reason it's a new feature. I now assign it to this person. So I put acceptance criteria, which is a definition of good. So you can now put your acceptance criteria, documentation complete, documentation complete. You now say test complete. You now say work copilot integration working properly. So that's a definition of good. Then, as I said, discussion. If you want to link it to another item, you put hash. You cannot link it to another item. If you want to mention somebody, you press add and you mention somebody. Hope we see that. Then you put a description. This just let me just put description. Then you save. So that's feature. So I return to work item. I can add several work items. I can add impediment, which is One of the impediments we have here, impediment is say fiber one installation not complete, not complete. So we assign it to this person. I'll say resolution, contact fiber admin. So that's a resolution. Then we'll start the discussion on the same thing. So we assign to somebody. So this is an impediment. An impediment comes up during our sprint retrospective. We now see the impediment and we put it now enters into the next sprint. So somebody has to work on it. Who needs to call? So this is a full return back to your project settings, to your work items. So you can create now a product backlog item. So this is a product, but this is now your user stories. So you can now create your user stories in this place now. So this is your you say as a user, I want to log in using my Google account. So that's a user story. So so that's what I product backlog item. So if I go to now my board, this is board. This is my Kanban board. So under boards, I can add my test cases. So under board now, you see I have under this board, I have just two things, which are my box and my user stories. I can decide to add test case here, add a test case. So so what's the test case? I cannot say um, user can select Google account. That's my test case. I can add test cases here. Then I go to backlog item. So this is my backlog. This is my back. Hope my screen is not still frozen. I confirm, please.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's not. It's not. It's fine.
So this is my product. So now, as a develop engineer, as a product manager and a develop engineer, there's what they call pruning or tailoring the backlog item. So you can move items up and down. So because backlog item is the ones on top goes out first. So I can decide to move. If I select this, can I just move it down or up? Oh, this is my. So this is the ones on top goes out first. So now we are going into sprint. We have put it our. These are items in our backlog. You can add more and more and more and more and more. So let's go into sprint now. So if I want to add this now into a sprint, I click on it. So I select iteration. You go to iteration. No, sprint is like an iteration. You go to iteration. I will now see my sprint. This is sprint one, sprint two, sprint three. So you see what templates do for because I selected sprint Scrum. It has given me sprint 1 to 6. So why do you have sprint 1 to 6? Because you have to look ahead. You can plan your work from now till the end of the year. But those are tentative. So you have put things from sprint 1 to sprint 6 to the last sprint of the year. So you can put it there. But in every sprint, you have what they call sprint planning, where you look at you might have added things to a particular sprint, and you can still go there and say remove things from that sprint. But this one is just so that let's have a broader view. Let's know what we are doing in the next 1 year. So I can add it to a sprint. But now I need to show you how to create a sprint. So if I go to sprint, I'm going to sprint, and I'll create a new sprint. I create a new sprint here. I call it sprint one. It already exists. Let me just call it one. Give it a name. They give it a start date. We did this before. It's starting today and it's ending today. And it's ending. It's a 2 week sprint. Location, CRM Scrum. Then we create. So I've created a sprint. So I can now this my sprint one. I now add items to it. I'm adding box or product backlog item. So let me not add directly. It's not good to add that from the sprint. Let's go to our backlog. It's not good to come to the sprint and add items to the sprint. It's never a good plan, a good design. Make sure you go to your backlog item, to your backlog. This is where you select items for your sprint. This is your sprint. So if I want to add this item to my sprint, I click here to this ellipsis. I can assign to, or I can add to move to iteration. So I'm moving to this sprint one. Uh, do we get do we follow? I move this item now to iteration to sprint one. So sprint one now, we are working only on this. So if I go to sprint now, this is my sprint one. I'm seeing the item. This is it here. So when I start working on it, it has been approved because we did sprint planning. The item has been approved. Now I start working on it and now say committed. I've committed to it. So now if I want to start working on this, now I have I have task to do under this sprint. What are my to-dos under this particular item? So login with Google is not working. So what do I want to do? The first thing is check log from cloud monitor. That's my first task. Then what's my second task? I now set up development environment. My development environment. And that's the development environment. This one includes cloning the development. Then I clone login repo from production, because it's you will not go and you don't clone the repo from from dev. You clone from production. Either the admin will bring it down to you again, and you clone what has been pushed to the production. So you clone it. So these are your to dos under this. So you've leveled your to dos. You can now move to progress, or you can move to done. So once all these tasks are done, then this project is complete. This task is completed. So that's that for sprint. So the next thing I want to go now, you have seen your, so let me complete this one. So I move all my items to done. To so done. So I can now make this one now done. This is done. So if I go to backlog, to the sprint backlog, my sprint backlog now is showing done. 3 items. So means I'm done. So it is showing done here. So this is done. If I go to my product backlog, I will not see that item again. I won't see it again. It has gone. But I can still see it if I want to view all my backlog items. I can still see it here. Then I go to queries. What's query? Query is when I want to, it's like creating a report. I want to view all items by particular user because I have several projects. So what do I want to do? I want to write a report. So with this query now, I can embed it inside Power BI. So with this query, if I write a query, I can embed the code of this query into Power BI. So what is this query? The field I'm selecting is work item type. I'm selecting work item type or test suite type, whatever. So work item type equals to, it can be equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, whatever. So I say equal to, what is equal to. So I'm setting equal to epic. Now I put on, so I want to get another on this one, and state is equals to done. Or all items that have been approved. So this will tell me all the items that have, let me just get so I can get see something. So this is the query now. So if I run my query, I will not see anything because I don't have any epic, any epic which is where the state is committed. So if I run it, I won't see anything. So let me just see any epic which any epic, all the epics. So I run it. Let's see. Also, work item type. Work item type equals to product backlog item and state. Let's remove this. So we are running a query to get all product backlog items. So this is a query now. You are getting all product backlog item. So you can design your query in any form. You can add new clause. You say where accepted date, accepted by, activity, whatever you want, where assigned to equals to this person. We run it. Now this is not working. Why? Because I've not assigned this product backlog item. If I go to backlog, let me just go back to backlog. This is our item, but it's not assigned to. I now go and assign it to me. When I go back to queries, if I go back to queries, I click on new query. And that's where work item is a product backlog item. Product backlog item, where assigned to, where assigned to is equals to this person, Vadim Kelechi, and I run the query. So you see, I have one item. So that's query. Now let's move to the delivery plan. So I run my query. I can save my query now. Get items. There's if you have Power BI, you can connect to these queries, and this will now be reporting on Power BI at any time. It can be as a query to, so all the items that comes under this person, they'll be shown on that report dashboard on Power BI. Then you go to delivery plans. I hope you are taking notes as we go on, because So what's a delivery plan? When you have as I said before, you may have 10, you have a project and have a long sprint. But now what if you have several projects? You want to have a delivery plan. What is the difference? Like it's a kind of a calendar of how are we going to be moving. You have your release date. Like I told you before, when we have our epics are released every 6 months. So when at what point do we release? At what point is it every month, every 6 months, or every year? So have everything about that project for the whole 1 year. So this is what we create in our test in our release plan. So if you click on new release plan, you go to CRM release plan, go to CRM release plan. So this is your product. Select your product backlog item. You can add other team. So if you have more than one team, you can add a teams there. So in this place, I'm adding all the backlog items. Yeah, I'm adding all the features for this team. I have just one team. So if I have more than one team, I'll add the teams here. Now I have more than one project. So for this project, cell integration, I'm adding the epics from there. So I now create. So as we said, you have more than one project or more than one team. So you can have one project, multiple teams. So you have your this is how your release plan now. So this shows you a timeline of your project. You see a calendar of everything all your teams are doing in one goal, or everything about your project as a backlog, as a DevOps engineer, everything in one goal. So this is how your release plan looks like. So they ask you, how do you what a release plan? A release plan is an overview of everything about your project and your teams. So if you have multiple projects, you can see everything you're going to do for each of the projects for which you have planned out from end to beginning. If you have multiple teams, you can see what all the teams are going to do within that calendar period. So that's your project. They go to analytics. So any questions so far?
All
Hello,
right,
are you
yeah.
there?
So I think yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Fantastic. Um, I think it's been a good time. Thank you so much. So yes, we have a few question. I'm sure for those who are following, you'll see that, like we said, we're just trying to delve into this practically. We're trying to delve into this practically, all right, so that we don't, have too many. So our conversations will be on the things we are seeing practically on the screen. I know a few people asked for trial accounts, which I've sent. If you check the chat, everybody, I already sent the link where you can start a trial account, and then you can also start testing some of these things. So, for example, after the session this night, you could go back to the session, check some of the things that are done, set up a trial account, and then learn some of those things, right? Um, Now, somebody asked a question, Ekene. They said, what are the
Mm.
days implication of cloning from dev? So it means if you clone from dev, probably all these processes, if you clone from dev, what are the days implication? I hope I get that, Chetam. I hope I get your question right. If not, please you can
What
ask it again. You can ask it
what what
again.
what are the base implication?
Yeah, days in terms of DAYS, days. So in terms of cloning from dev.
Yeah, there are no days implication. Why I say clone from production? Because you have a system that has gone through a test from production, it went to staging, from staging, it went to production. So now there's an error at production. You don't know what happened. So you cannot, if you go and clone from dev and simulate the error, but that code is in production, you don't know what it is. That's what they call blue green or corona blue green testing. So now if you go and clone from testing from dev, it will work or it may not work. Or if it work, but that does not solve the problem because the problem is in production. So now you clone from production And that clone, so in your blue green now, your production now becomes your blue, while the working dev becomes your green. So you now test, okay, my green is working. Why is my blue not working? Which is my production. So when you now clean that, you now do your testing. If it works, you now go through the process again. You now push that production which you have cloned before, which you just cloned lately. You now push it to dev. It now becomes your dev. From then it goes to staging. From staging it becomes your new production. So that is the way the flow goes. You don't go and clone from dev, and meanwhile the issue is in production. So it may be your test case, your test case was not well written. It may be the container you are using. So several things. If you're using a Docker container, or you now check your deployment, your infrastructure deployment. You have to test all these things. So you pick everything as it is on production down to your dev environment. Then you start cloning from there. You build from there and now resolve that issue.
So
So
if are you saying that are you saying that if this method also even for all of these setups, right? Even for sprint setup, even for so for I'm talking from the side of project managers right now and all of that, because what project manager is doing is just to is just to track project, not actually working on a bug or something like that, right? So this cloning thing is only solely for DevOps operations in terms of the application itself, code base, not for project managers who are dealing with maybe boards and all of that, right? Or is it for
yeah,
everybody?
no, the project manager has created, like, if you come here, you it was a bug, right? If you go
Okay.
to the backlog, you saw a bug, and it was assigned to doing sprint planning, a time, a man hour was assigned to it. The project manager does not care. So if you look at when I was creating the item, I said you put all your tasks, system setup, environment setup, clone from production. So these are things. So it's not the business of the project manager. All that there is a bug. Tell me how you are going to address this bug. Do you get me? So the project manager has no
Exactly.
business.
All right.
So
Yes, yes.
the cloning is for the developer.
With all of that.
The project manager just tell you there is a bug. Now tell me how you address it. And you told me that this bug requires 20 hours of work to do it. Okay. By the end of 20 hours, I want to see this bug fixed and it should be in production. And they have given you that test criteria. Their acceptance criteria. These are acceptance criteria, and these are everything we need at the end of 20 hours.
Okay, okay. So somebody disagreed with your explanation of Scrum and Agile earlier.
Okay.
I was saying that I was saying the explanation was based on DevOps, not the general project methodology. Maybe you want to take that explanation back so we get the concept of Scrum and Agile as it relates to Azure DevOps.
So agile is agile is a broad system of project management where you have agile, you have waterfall. Those are the two types of project management: ag, agile or waterfall. Agile has several subcategories, while waterfall is the project management type. We just waterfall from one step to the other. So Agile says we don't do everything. We don't see the whole staircase before we start. But Waterfall says we want to see the whole staircase before we start. So Agile takes it from one step to the other. So under Agile now you have several methodologies. Under the Agile framework, you have several methodologies under the Agile frameworks. You have a Spring, Stream programming. You have Kanban, you have Scrum, and you have A3. These are other these are other models, other frameworks that are offshoot from the Agile framework, which is about um, iteration. We check, we check, small increment towards the end. So Scrum now is an offshoot from Agile. Now Scrum brought in iterations, which most of the other Agile framework do not bring in iterations. So Scrum now say, okay, we're having a sprint. So in our sprint, we have sprint review, sprint retrospective, and sprint planning, where um we don't know the whole framework, but we can bring back things. We can work and still do a review and do a rework and change things. As I'm just giving the basic layman understanding of what Scrum is it's an iteration kind of working. So it's an iteration kind of project management. You it We don't know the whole end, but we take a very large project and break it down into smaller chunks, so that after for every sprint review there is an increment. That increment may be a functional increment, or it may just be an addition. So, but every 2 weeks there's an increment. Every 2 weeks there's an increment. Every 2 weeks there's an increment until the whole project is met. So that's the basic idea of Scrum. You have and you do it. You have your sprint, which is you can have 1 week sprint, you can have 2 week sprint, you can have a 4 week sprint, and there are several ceremonies within the Scrum. You have your stand up meetings, which sometimes is 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 10 to 20 minutes based on your choice. Your stand-up meetings, you have your sprint planning, you have your sprint retrospective, you have your sprint review. So the various ceremonies in Scrum, and that's just the basic understanding of Scrum. But we're not doing waterfall on its own is different. So you just
All right,
you
fantastic.
finish your planning,
Thank you
you go
so
to
much for that.
execution, yeah.
Elijah. All right, great stuff, great stuff. Thank you for that, Ekene. So Elijah, that's Dr. Arema. I guess you get the understanding of why we're going through this. So, and this is the same for everybody. Why we're going through this is as much as we're trying to also um, speed up things and get everybody in line. These are the processes involved within DevOps. I talked about it at the beginning, right? So when you begin to understand how all of this comes together, you begin to get the processes, the process layouts really of DevOps. Now, can I have some general questions that some people ask. Miriam Jimo asked at the beginning of the training that uh, is Git. I was explaining some few things about DevOps tools like AWS, Azure. So she asked that is GitHub one of the tools of DevOps?
If you
Did you
say
get that?
tools, yeah, I can. Yeah, you may call it tools for DevOps because yeah, I got it. I got it. Yeah, GitHub is a tool for DevOps, but it's more GitHub is more like it's a social network for developers and also a tool for DevOps because GitHub, the base of what the role GitHub plays in DevOps is mainly one, version control. It's a version control system, and also GitHub now has added Git actions where you can build your pipelines to it. But before, GitHub did not have Git actions. It has just only Git, which was basically a version control system where you put your codes. If you make changes, you can go back to the history where developers commit their codes. That was so GitHub is a tool. If you are going into DevOps, you need to learn GitHub, and learning GitHub is not only GitHub. You're learning Git. It's either you're using Git to manage your repository. So use Git to manage your repository. So Git there are two types of repository. There is central and decentral. There is central and distributed repository. So GitHub is a kind of distributed repository where you have one repository and every developer can have from there clone that repository, build their code, make their commits independently, and then make a pull request. Then the main engineer gather the pull request and merge everything into the main branch, into the master branch. So everybody can work independently and on different systems. Then when we have made our changes, if there are conflicts, we look at which one is higher and we mesh the conflict and resolve the conflicts. Then we mesh everything back into one main branch. GitHub just give you that interface where you see your code. You have GitHub, you have Jenkins, you have Azure DevOps Repo, which is the next thing we are going into. So you can either use GitHub or you can use Azure DevOps Repo.
All right, all
So
right,
the
all
next
right,
thing we have here, so is that all?
all right. I think for
So
now, those are the questions we have for now. I think we can just we have like about 10 minutes more to wrap up the session for today. So I think you wanted to take us to repos, right? So let's go into,
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, let's go into repos for the next 10 minutes and then we wrap up the class from there and we'll continue tomorrow.
Okay. Or can we add if they can we add it down to pipeline? So if they are, if let's ask a class because we wasted a lot of we took a lot of time to set up. So just ask the class if anybody's interested. If we can take it up to if we add 30 minutes more to like 9:30. So I'll go to repos. So Azure Repo now this is a version control system. Do you know what a version control system is? A system where you you it keeps history of your changes of as you make your code so that most times you write your code x 50 lines and you made some tomorrow that you made some changes now but you have done a lot of changes but you can just like undo if you go to your system you do control z. So what in the case where you've written your code after 1 week and you don't have control z again and you have made some changes and the code now has broken and you want to go back to the last working code to the last working to the last working file to where it was working before. How do you go back? So that is where Azure Repo comes in. So you have made like 50 commits and it's now not working. So you want to take things back to where it was working. So you now go back, you now use Azure Repo, go back to your commit. Which commit did you make? Where was it working? Then from there you start building back again. So you at any point you get a photocopy, a copy of your code as it is at every given moment. So this is Azure Repo. So we have our codes here. I'll just show us how our code works. So if I click on Azure Repo, I see the file. It gives, by default, it shows me a link. This is where I'll create my repository. So I can now copy it. So I've copied that. So now I create a file. If I come to my Visual Studio Code, let me share. As at this moment, I'll share my whole screen because I'm moving from one screen to the other to see how we are going to do Azure Repo, how we are going to push a code to our Git. So I'll stop sharing, then share my whole system. So I'm sharing my entire screen now. So now this is Azure Repo. I have clone in VS Code. So I can clone several, I can use different Azure DevOps gives us a very good UI. So I can clone into different IDs. So I'm cloning into VS Code. It's not time to open Visual Studio Code. I create a folder. So I save this, but let me use the git command directly. So in my Azure Studio, this is Visual Studio Code. So you go to command, go to terminal. I can now say git run. So I'm cloning into Scrum. Just 1 minute. Ask me to log in. You were just trying to show you everything that you see when you are working on it. It's not just giving you slideshows of So as I said before, everything in Azure you need to have an Azure account. So oh God. Just 1 minute, please. My network is down. Just stop this sharing. It's taking some time. Oh God. I'll stop sharing for now. Let me just get this out.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. I'm trying to share my entire screen. So you can see my screen now. Can you see my screen now?
All right, yes, we can see your Visual Studio.
Okay, so it has told me you appear you have cloned a different repository. So I've cloned this repository. So if I now go, if I have to change this directory, I go to change directory, and I open VS Code. So now let me open the file, the folder which I just opened. Just 1 minute. This is it. So I put my folder. So we are in the folder now. Let me go to I create a file. Hello world. Yeah, and I'll save.
So Atekene, while you're doing that,
So that's my file. So one, yeah.
all right. So while you're doing that, because of our time already and is spent, and we have some of our people who joined working in a different region, and they've set up that time. So once we just show how to push this to our repo, all right, we'll probably just continue from there tomorrow. So, but let's just show them how to push this to
Okay.
repo, and then we can continue from there tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we have. So to push a repo now, we're putting a git clone. We now git add to add all the files we have worked on. You can call the file name. But for now, just we're adding all the file to our staging environment. So we've added the file. So now say git push. I won't do pull request because of time, but tomorrow I'll show you pull requests. I say git push. I say use. First of all, let me see my remote. What are my remote environments? So I say git remote. It showed me a list. So I have origin, which is my remote. So I now say git push. I now say use origin. I also use origin and I enter. Oh, sorry. So please git commit first. Git commit. You put your message, which is first commit. So enter. Why is it not? It's not login. It's not login. Oh. Okay, please. I think I have authentication error here. I'll resolve this because of time, as you said. It has not yet authenticated. So I need to authenticate this Azure this studio to this Azure DevOps. We just created this one because of this class, so I've not authenticated it. So I think we'll end there. I'll do all the authentication, and tomorrow I promise we are going to start on time. I'll be faster. I'll cover more. So for tomorrow, Ayo, Ayo.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very
So
much, Ekene. Thank you. Thank you for the time. Thank you, everyone who joined. So I believe we've been able to come for today. We've been able to cover a few things around DevOps overview, and then we've been able to at least go through the entire Azure DevOps interface and then the basic things in Azure DevOps and all of that in terms of the boards, the work items, the backlogs, the sprint models, and every other thing like that, right? Uh, those are just like the entry things into starting up with the Azure DevOps environment. And you would see that as we go through those things, it also brings you to understanding of the entire process we spoke about at the beginning. So definitely from tomorrow, we then start going into uh much of the infrastructure as a code, ARM models, and a few of the technical side. Now to now give context to what is expected in the developers operations side of things from tomorrow. Definitely, we'll start going into that. Also, sincere apologies for the reception issues we had at the beginning of the session today. We will definitely work on those technical glitches earlier tomorrow. All right. I think for now, let me check. Are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, I think there's no question for now. I think all the questions has been addressed during the session. All right. Okay, somebody's asking, can we get the slides? Okay, we'll let you know about that one. We'll speak internally and then we'll update you on that one. Probably on Sunday when we're wrapping up the whole session, we'll make a decision as to whether we'll be sharing the slides and all of that. But there's nothing really hidden that we cannot share in the slides. So by Sunday, maybe we'll do a general mail to everybody with the slides attached. Okay, is that fine? All right. So thank you everybody for joining. We'll see you all tomorrow, same time, 7 p.m. West African time. And then we'll take it a bit higher tomorrow. Thank you for joining everybody. Thank you, Kene, for your time. Thank you for the calmness and the detailed explanation you've given to us. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. All right. See you
thank
all
you.
tomorrow. Yeah. Bye, everyone.